3,125 years ago, the 11th century BCE, an epic battle of titanic proportions is playing out. Dagon, an ancient titan, is fighting against a beast known as the Muta Prime. Their blows shake the earth itself. While these kaiju amass in fighting skill, Dagon just can't seem to land any good hits or get into a tempo. Though, unlike the universe you know, Dagon uses a different technique. Dagon slams against the Prime and holds her back, giving him time to charge up his beam as much as possible. And once he has a chance, he fires it out. His beam blasts against the Prime's chest, pushing her back, and in the process pushes himself away. Dagon keeps firing it, slowly stepping back while his beam further slides him, pretty much moonwalking. Once his beam is all used up, he is about 500 meters away, right near the shoreline. Dagon quickly turns around and runs as fast as he can. As he runs, the Prime uses her sonic screech and shatters his dorsals. He falls in agonizing pain, but he pushes through it, knowing he'll die if he stays down. In the universe you know, Dagon keeps fighting with all his might, but it just wasn't enough. But here, in this timeline, Dagon plays smarter, not harder, executing a tactical retreat. Today we're altering the timeline ever so slightly, as to keep Dagon alive to the modern day. What will happen to the other kaiju in the monsterverse? Will the Mutos cease to exist? And most importantly, what will happen to Godzilla? Hello everyone, it's your host Goji Guy, and today we're here to ask, what if Dagon never died?
Time. Space. Reality. It's more than a linear path. It's a seismic rift of endless possibilities, where a single roar can ripple out into infinite realities, spawning alternate worlds alongside the ones you know. I am the Overlord. I am your guide through these vast, chaotic realms. Follow me and ponder this question. What if?
Again, hello everyone, it's your host Goji Guy, and firstly, happy 2025. Hope you all had a great 2024. With that being said, we're in the last 24-ish hours of the fundraiser Gifts from Goji. Now, did we reach our goal? No. But with that being said, as of writing this, we have raised almost $5,000. I want to thank everyone who donated and shared it around. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Your donations may single-handedly save a life. And with that out of the way, let's get back to the what if. In the universe you know, Dagon loses against the Prime and gets implanted with the Muto eggs, causing his death. But what if he didn't die? What if he ran away? Let's dive in. Dagon flees, having to swallow his pride in doing so. Little does he know, this action just saved him from a long, painful death. The Prime stands up, her chest scorched from a prolonged exposure to the atomic breath. But she quickly digs into the ground and leaves. Many years later, the Prime is on a search to lay her eggs, and luckily she finds a host. She finds a young kaiju, wandering around what will later be Chile. He is furry, with 2 long tusks starting to grow. He's young, maybe only a few million years old at the time. The Prime stalks her prey, and when he's fully distracted, she strikes. The Prime sticks her ovipositors into his chest, implanting 2 eggs, and she quickly gets up and leaves. The kaiju having no idea what just happened, but soon enough, he will. The year is 1998. The people of Brazil are having a good time. Parties on the beach, bustling in the streets, and much more. That's when it starts. The ground shakes, not like an earthquake, rather as if something incredibly heavy is walking their way. That's when the screaming begins. People look up to the mountains in horror. A huge animal, no, a titan climbs over. It's Behemoth. Behemoth stands, roaring in agonizing pain. Behemoth's chest tears open as 2 hideous creatures fall out of it and start running away, both running down the mountain. People are crushed, buildings are destroyed, and streets are wiped away. These 2 beasts quickly make it to the shore and swim to safety. The world is in shock, as this is the first sighting of what an organization called Monarch refers to as a Titan. Massive creatures that the world can't explain. The countries around the world have their militaries ready for what's next. But that's the interesting thing. Nothing happens. Weeks, months, even years go by. Nothing. No sight of those freakish beasts that crawled down the mountain. The world goes back to a calm state. Hey everyone, Goji Guy popping in here. Just a heads up, after this, we're pretty much assuming G14 played out the exact same way it did. I guess just imagine the Mutos, but slightly furry, and boom. That's what happens next, so, yeah. Subscribe if you're liking the story so far, and let's move on. The year is 2015. Godzilla is drawn to an energy source. making his way to Japan, specifically the Onigawa nuclear power plant, an extremely powerful and dangerous power plant, one that's always been on his radar if he were to ever need an extra boost of radiation. Though the reason he's headed there isn't because he needs a boost, rather he can feel his power draining away. Once arriving on shore, Godzilla is met with flames and alarms. The plant is almost entirely destroyed. Helicopters and buses are fleeing, while others are desperately trying to get away. Godzilla puffs steam out of his nose, ready to battle whoever did this. And that's when he sees her. Through the black smoke, he sees bright orange eyes looking back at him. The Muto Prime is here, gathering radiation to lay more eggs. Godzilla recognizes her from millions of years ago, their species almost having entirely wiped each other out. Godzilla knows that if he can take her out, his species will win the war. He roars and charges the Prime doing the same. Godzilla is strong, but due to being in his Gyaragoji form, he isn't quite powerful enough. They clash, shaking the ground around them and causing a sonic boom. Godzilla slashes the Prime, cutting her arm. The Prime, wanting to get these eggs laid ASAP, quickly gets the upper hand in the battle, using her massive arms to easily overpower and shove Godzilla to the ground. Godzilla fires his beam at her chest and pushes her away, but she's learned to block the Gogeta beams. Due to her fight with Dagon, she uses her sonic roar, being able to disrupt Godzilla's beam, having it disperse, and by the time it hits her, it's no more than fire. Godzilla gets up but is again slammed into the ground. He can't catch a break. He fires his beam again, but no luck. She once again roars, disrupting his beam, and this time causes serious damage to his dorsals. She roars again, and again, and again. Godzilla can barely keep his eyes open, and his dorsals are gone, leaving huge holes in his back. Godzilla is hopeless. The Prime is ready for the killing blow. That's when, from the left, out of nowhere, an atomic beam is blasted into the Prime's side, sending her tumbling away. Godzilla looks over and is shocked to see Dagon? Godzilla, in terms of the Titanus Gogeta specimen, is pretty young, while Dagon is an elder. Not only is he an elder Gogeta, he was one of the main powerhouses back in the day, against the Mutos, when the Gogeta-Muto War took place, though he looks different. Unlike the sharp spikes he once had, they've been replaced with longer, more artistic dorsals. Dagon charges her, and bites and slashes at the open wound. The Prime roars in pain, pleading for mercy, but her cries fall on deaf ears. Dagon is quickly able to open her chest, and beams right through her, frying her and killing her in moments. Dagon walks over to Godzilla, still on the ground. Godzilla smiles and starts to get up. That's when Dagon slams his foot into Godzilla's chest, Godzilla roaring in pain. Dagon looks at Godzilla with disgust. Godzilla lifts his arm, but Dagon slams it down with his tail. Dagon roars at Godzilla. Helpless and on the brink of death, he takes his foot off of Godzilla. Goji rises to his feet and then kneels, lowering his head, knowing he has no choice but to bow to his new king. Dagon is now filled with pride and orders Godzilla to follow him. They make their way into the sea, and over the next few months, Dagon and Godzilla attack unprovoked, taking nuclear energy and leveling cities one after another. That's when one man gets an idea to stop them. Alan Jonah, an eco-terrorist, infiltrates a Monarch outpost and steals the Orca, a device that can lure and control kaiju. With this in his hand, he quickly awakens the Titan to see what kind of firepower they'll need going forward. Breaking out of a massive volcano, Rodan, the fire demon, is awakened. Using the Orca, he lures Godzilla and Dagon over to Rodan. This is where the fun begins. Godzilla and Dagon arrive to Isla Del Mara. Godzilla now having regrown his dorsals, similar to Dagon. The place is in chaos. They look around for who called them, but they don't see anyone. That's when they hear a roar. Rodan comes flying down to attack, but before he can even get close, the two Gogeta fire their atomic breaths right at him, causing Rodan to explode in the sky, lava raining down. Jonah and Monarch are stunned. They didn't even give Rodan a chance. Dagon has manipulated Godzilla, and together are now an unstoppable force. Monarch and Alan Jonah both have their own plans and put them into motion. Alan and his team quickly head to the Arctic. They break into another Monarch outpost and quickly clear the place out. There's only one Titan that stands a chance against these two beasts. Monster Zero, an alien from another world, who, according to Monarch, fought Godzilla many years ago. They dig around Ghidorah and scan his entire body. Once they have all the angles and images, they fuse them all together, ready to launch Project AC. Using the scans, they quickly design a model of Ghidorah, which is their only hope, to force Ghidorah into doing his alpha call. They set bombs on Ghidorah and detonate. Everything goes quiet. Then, it starts. A huge storm materializes out of thin air. As the one who is many is awake, Ghidorah roars, but before he can take flight, Ghidorah looks up in shock. A huge Ghidorah stands before him, much larger than himself, red horns and black scales covering his body. Little does Ghidorah know this is all a fake. Using the model, the team quickly made what they believe what could possibly be an older version of Ghidorah. Using holograms in the Orca, they're able to scare Ghidorah into submission. Using the Orca, they make Ghidorah rise to his feet and tell him to do his alpha call. Ghidorah, being scared shitless, obliges. Standing strong and roaring with all he's got, Ghidorah awakens the kaiju around the world, but this time adds a new command: hunt down Godzilla and Dagon. Once Ghidorah is done, he himself flees to track down Godzilla. Alan and his team are the first humans to ever successfully control the devil with 3 heads. They pack up their bags and quickly head to safety, far from all the kaiju. Over the span of the next few days, Godzilla and Dagon fight kaiju after kaiju, but none are able to match their power. Tiamat, atomized. Abaddon stomped out, and the Muto Queen, the last of the Muto species, well, she had a special death. Dagon went out of his way to make sure her death was especially cruel, snapping off one of her own legs and proceeding to stab it through her body, pinning her to the ground. He slowly and methodically snaps off and breaks every single one of her legs, one after the other, staying alive through the entire process. Dagon then ends her by slowly pushing the weight of his own body onto her head with his foot, slowly crushing her skull. Godzilla watches from afar, and while he'll continue to serve Dagon, he starts to ponder if what they're doing is wrong. I mean, he's had to kill his own friends, and Dagon is too cocky and takes too much pleasure in his kills. That's when the clouds darken, and it starts to rain. Dagon and Godzilla look up, yellow lightning inbound. Godzilla knows what this means. Dagon, however, has no history with Ghidorah. He lands, Ghidorah roaring. Standing up, he towers over the Gojidas. Godzilla, knowing how powerful he is quite intimidated, while Dagon couldn't care less. They charge into each other, the Gojidas winning the class due to their weight. Ghidorah stands up and covers his head as a beam comes his way. His wing gets torn up, but is still alive. Ghidorah grabs onto Dagon and throws him into Godzilla. Dagon now understands what they're facing against. He roars at Godzilla, giving him a plan. While Ghidorah can regenerate with great speeds, if you blow up his chest, he's dead. Godzilla is told to go to Ghidorah's side, while Dagon stays put. Ghidorah stands, waiting for an attack, with Dagon standing in front of him and Godzilla off to the side. Dagon charges his dorsals and fires a beam. Ghidorah puts his wings up ready to take the blow, but it never comes. That's when, before it lands, Ghidorah is able to look up and see what's happening. Dagon shoots his beam, and right before it hits Ghidorah, Godzilla uses radiation absorption to pull the beam toward himself and curves the beam around Ghidorah, blasting it into his side, which is now unprotected. The beam, being further magnified by Godzilla, does immense damage to Ghidorah. He falls, a large portion of his chest gone. Godzilla runs over and jumps onto Ghidorah. Dagon gets there too, and together they vaporize all 3 heads with a single blow. The kaiju roar victorious, when suddenly, a bright light breaks through the storm. Mothra lands on the ground. She chirps at Godzilla, coming to say hello, but before Godzilla has a chance to say anything, Dagon fires a beam right at Mothra, burning a large part of her wing. Godzilla, shocked and enraged, jumps onto Dagon, trying to stop him, roaring at Mothra to run. She takes flight and runs away. Dagon is infuriated. He quickly overpowers Godzilla and starts beating the ever-living hell out of him, breaking off a dorsal, snapping part of his lower jaw, and breaking his hand. Godzilla either dies or bows, and Godzilla, knowing he can't win, bows once more, now fully pledging himself to Dagon. And from that moment on, he will never, ever disobey Dagon again. Mothra lands hundreds of miles away. She is exhausted and out of energy. Her wing has taken severe damage. She puts some silk on it to keep it from bleeding, but then she hears it. Godzilla. No, something like Godzilla, but something is off. She peers her head above the trees and sees him. A mechanized version of Godzilla, or as we know him, Mechagodzilla. She is terrified for her life, Mechagodzilla rushing her way. This is it, she thinks, but it stops right before her. She looks up, and the mecha starts to apply a healing agent to Mothra. Mecha lifts her up and carries her away, taking her to Outpost 61. Over the past few years, Monarch partnered up with Shaw Industries to build Mechagodzilla. Along with that, they made great advancements with cybernetic enhancements. Mechagodzilla very gently puts a collar onto Mothra so that Monarch can communicate with her and ask for her help, as Mothra is the only one who can put a stop to Dagon's madness. Putting it on, she learns that Monarch wants to help her and use her as a weapon. Mothra is hesitant at first, but ultimately complies, as she knows it to be true. She also knows they can help her and help heal her injured wing. Monarch is happy to reveal their newest toy to Mothra, the Lethal Enhancement Optimization, or as they call it, Project Leo. This modification will buff Mothra like never seen before in the Monsterverse. She is covered head to stinger and plated titanium, but only a light layer, as she still needs to be able to get airborne. She's modified with boosters to allow her to increase her speed, but they only last for a little bit. Her wings are covered in speakers. Those will come into play later. Along with all this, she is super drugged up, granting her better stamina, strength, focus, and faster reflexes. And overall, she is just much more menacing than she once was. Along with all that, she's been given all sorts of new beams included into her suit. After some time to regain her energy and regenerate her wing, Mothra is ready for battle. Together, Mechagodzilla and Mothra head to confront the rogue Gojidas. Hello everybody, this is your intermission, so make sure to go grab a drink or stretch. I just want to say, if you're enjoying the video, check out my other what ifs, and consider subscribing if you're liking this video so far. Also, very quickly, I want to give a shout out to my top supporters. For those who don't know, YouTube recently added a feature where I can see my top fans. So quick shout out to Godzilla and Hell _edits, Legendary Raptor YT, and J Cars Vlog. Thank you guys so much for being my top fans. I really appreciate the support, and let's finish this video up. Mothra and Mechagodzilla head to Mount Fuji. This gives them plenty of space to throw down, but also allows them to see where the Godzillas are coming from. Once Mothra and Mecha arrive, Mechagodzilla uses built-in Orca Sigma to lure the Gojira in. The Gojira hear the call, and aren't too far away, being right near Mount Pictou in North Korea. They beeline to Fuji. After 30 minutes give or take, Mothra and Mecha hear their footsteps. They quickly go to the other side of Mount Fuji and see them. Dagon and Godzilla running at them, full speed. Mechagodzilla and Mothra attack. Mecha fires his beam, Godzilla being quick to fire his back. While they're stuck in a beam clash, Mothra flies towards Dagon, using her God Rays to blind him and send him tumbling back. Dagon, on the ground, quickly gets back up and fires a beam right into Mothra. Mothra falls. While the titanium exoskeleton helps greatly, this is an atomic breath we're talking about, so it can only take so many more hits before the armor is futile. With Mothra down, Dagon charges Mechagodzilla, still locked in a beam clash. Mecha shoots missiles toward Dagon, but Dagon plows through them and body slams into Mecha. Dagon and Godzilla together tear through Mecha, ripping him apart with ease. Mothra tries to get up to help Mecha, but it's too late. Mechagodzilla is seconds away from death. Dr. Serizawa at the wheel, piloting Mechagodzilla from afar. And with Mecha's death being inevitable, Serizawa launches Weapon X, a super weapon if you will, being a mixture of blinding lights, EMPs, sonic roars, and it ends off with an explosion from the test weapon NDD, or the Neural Deception Device, which attacks a kaiju's brain, causing them to hallucinate their greatest fears. Mechagodzilla finally implodes, sending the Gojiras tumbling back. Mothra is ready for battle as the two Gojiras rise up, though something's off. They're acting weird, scared even. Little to Mothra's knowledge, the two Gojiras don't see Mothra in front of them. Rather, they see the Titan that ate a star, a huge Godzilla-like kaiju with wings made of space crystals, or what the Gojira know as the Crystal King. Godzilla is frozen in fear, while Dagon, being the older and wiser kaiju, quickly snaps out of it, or at least knows what he's seen isn't real. Dagon charges his beam and fires at Mothra, but due to the EMP, it's nowhere near as strong as it was moments ago. Mothra dodges most of the beam, and she fires back with her own beam, the cross-heat laser. Firing from a gem found on Mothra's forehead, Mothra is now able to pretty much condense her God Rays down to a single beam. She fires back, quickly overpowering Dagon's beam. Dagon quickly gets up and slams into Godzilla, snapping him out of his trance. Godzilla and Dagon rise up together and fire their beams. While one at a time they aren't too much of a concern, two is a different story. That's when Monarch takes over and uses speakers in Mothra's wings. Using said speakers, they have replicated the Muto Prime's roar, but increases power 40 times over. The blast of the sound sends Mothra blasting back, while the Gojiras fall to the ground, their beams being diffused and sent in every direction, and the sound almost completely destroys the dorsals of both Godzilla and Dagon. Mothra rises up, her metallic wings damaged beyond recognition. While the speakers helped a lot, due to their power, it can only be shot once, as it will destroy itself in the process. All three of the kaiju are tired and weak. Before Mothra can get up, Dagon slams his foot onto her thorax, crushing her stinger and some of her internal organs. Mothra screams in pain. Dagon is fed up. Just the idea of losing to a moth infuriates him. Dagon charges his beam, his back spewing out radiation as he has no dorsals left. But he doesn't care. And right as the beam leaves his mouth, Godzilla charges in and slams his elder to the ground. Dagon is down. Godzilla doesn't hold back, and he balls his hand into a fist and goes ham on Dagon. Left, right, left, right. Godzilla has been building up resentment towards Dagon for the past few years. He comes in, steals his kill, steals his crown, humiliates him, turns him into a slave forced to do his bidding, and kills his own allies. Godzilla is fed up. Mothra watches in horror. By the time Godzilla is done, Dagon's skull has been reduced to dust, as if his head was cropped off of his body. Godzilla wobbly stands up, smiles at Mothra, and falls down beside Dagon. Due to his injuries from the fight, Godzilla is on the brink of death. Mothra quickly shoots webbing over Godzilla's back to block the bleeding, and Monarch quickly puts them both to sleep, to heal them up another day. So, in the end, Dagon is dead. His tyrant rule has been stopped, and Project Mothra Leo was a success. Monarch is now ready for anything that comes their way in the future, and they'll need to be, because trust me, this story has only begun. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you all enjoyed. As I was writing this, I hit 200,000 subscribers, so I truly want to thank you all so much. It's crazy. That's ridiculous. Thank you. I want to give a special thanks to my art team. Thank you to Gigamations, Sam, Jay, and Ooga. Again, if you enjoyed this What If, make sure to go check out my other ones. This one I like a lot, but my personal favorite is What If Godzilla Evolved in 2019, so definitely go give that one a watch. But, as always, keep collecting. Goji Guy, out. See ya.